Governor Rick Scott, he's delivering comments on the storm. Let's listen.
Highly populated communities and leaving destruction in its wake. On our East Coast, South Florida is experiencing increased hurricane-force wind gusts, coastal flooding, and dangerous seas. In Northwest Florida, we'll start to feel the impacts of the storm late tonight and early Monday. There are areas of South Florida and the Keys that have already had up to 10 inches or 12 inches of rain. Across the state, we could see an additional 8 to 15 inches of rain. A vast majority of Florida is under a hurricane warning. Millions of Floridians are being impacted by this storm. This is a serious threat of significant. There is a serious threat of significant storm surge flooding along the entire west coast of Florida, and this has increased to 15 feet of impact above ground level in Southwest Florida. Tampa will see a surge of 5 to 8 feet. The Big Bend area will see a surge of 4 to 6 feet. We'll also see an increase in flooding of rivers throughout the peninsula. We have seen tornadoes in central South Florida, and the threat will continue today and tonight. This is a life-threatening situation. Remember, in Southwest Florida, the storm surge comes after the strongest winds. Do not think the storm is over when the wind slows down. Local officials will let you know when it is safe to go out. The storm surge will rush in and could kill you. We have thousands of National Guard members and Fish and Wildlife officers on standby to help with search and rescue as soon as it is safe. But they cannot help you until the storm has passed. You need to stay in a safe place. With the storm's latest track, families in the Panhandle need to be on high alert for severe weather, including tropical storm and hurricane-force winds. Here in Tallahassee, it is likely we will experience hurricane-force winds, and families must prepare. We are doing all we can to be prepared to respond to this storm. Today, I requested a major disaster declaration from President Trump to help bring important federal resources and aid to Florida. I've spoken with the President nearly every day, as well as today, and as well as our other federal partners. We are working very closely with the federal government to make sure Floridians have the resources they need for this storm. This has been a challenging week for our state. All week, I traveled Florida to spread the message. Take this deadly storm seriously. Stay safe, be prepared, listen to local evacuation advisories. My first duty as governor is to protect the people of Florida, and the storm is here now. Everyone's family matters. Every life matters. Please know that we will do anything and everything to protect and rescue every person, and we will spare no expense in doing it. This week has demonstrated that everyone around the world that Floridians care about each other. We have each other's backs. We're proud to call Florida home, and nothing will change that. While I know we have done everything we could to prepare for this storm, we can never do enough. I've heard from other governors and from people all over the world about the ways they can help our state make it through this destruction. In fact, we have received direct support from 16 states. We've received National Guard. From Texas, we received Fish and Wildlife members. From Ohio, Incident Management Team. From Colorado, Emergency Operations Support Team. We've taken all help and all resources that have been offered. I know Florida is known for our beaches, our theme parks, and our college teams, but our most important asset is our people. Many people from all over this great country and world have asked me what they can do. If you'd like to give, text DISASTER to 20222 to make a one-time $10 donation. If you'd like to volunteer, volunteerflorida.org. Pray. I don't see prayer as a last resort. It should always be a first resort. We will continue to keep you updated as we go through this storm, but let me be very clear. We'll make it through this together. Hurricane Irma ya está impactando en nuestro estado. Este huracán es muy peligroso. Acuérdense que la vida de usted y su familia es lo más importante. Por favor, tengan cuidado. Cada familia ya debe de estar en un sitio seguro. Para más información, por favor llamen al 1-800-342-3557. También visiten mi cuenta de Twitter at FLGovScott para más información en inglés y español de Hurricane Irma. Mi prioridad es que todos, turistas, familias, todos en la Florida estén seguros y preparados. Now it's my distinct opportunity to turn it over to our Adjutant General. We have the best National Guard. Our National Guard are individuals that are putting their lives at risk when their own families' lives might be at risk. We've called up 7,000 members of the National Guard. I've had opportunities, I've had calls from people from all over the country that want to provide as much support to our National Guard as possible. So, Adjutant General Mike Calhoun.
Good morning. Thank you, Governor. The entire Florida National Guard has been activated, with more than 2,000 guardsmen supporting 200 of the over 500 shelters. More than 700 more guardsmen are preparing to set up food and water distribution sites as soon as the storm passes. We're working alongside FWC and Urban and Search and Rescue to begin rescue missions as soon as it is safe. We're working closely with our counterparts from other National Guard and active duties. More than 10,000 National Guard troops are on their way into the state of Florida from 14 different states for deployment after the storm. Help is coming by air, land, and sea. We're grateful for the outpouring of support and assistance from our brothers and sisters in the Army, Air Force, Navy, Marines, Coast Guard, and the entire Guard Nation. And we are ready to do all we can to help our fellow Floridians, and we'll be here as long as it's needed. Thank you. Thank you, sir.
Now we're going to hear from Fish and Wildlife. Nick Wiley has done a great job leading Fish and Wildlife.
Thank you, Governor. We have approximately 200 FWC officers in search and rescue staged to join our Florida National Guard partners. Each of these teams has trucks, airboats, patrol boats, and ATVs on standby to assist with these life-saving missions. We have more than 500 law enforcement vessels standing ready, and we are prepared to sustain these resources as long as necessary. We are swearing in more than 200 officers that are being deployed from Mississippi, South Carolina, Arkansas, Texas. By the end of the day, we will have 50 additional officers from Louisiana, 28 officers from Arkansas, and 26 officers from Mississippi. I appreciate these brave men and women for joining our officers in these missions and all of the states that are sending resources to support Florida. We will continue to work together to keep Florida families safe. Thank you.
Be glad to answer any questions anybody has.
Governor, we're in a low tide situation right now where you have a lot of people who are venturing out, going to docks, seawalls, beaches to survey what's going on. Does that give you cause for concern, knowing that they're going out there right now thinking the situation may not be as bad as they've been expecting?
Everybody needs to be safe. You need to understand the storm's coming up the state. And it can still change the direction it's going. You've got to continue to watch the storm. Where we're going to get the storm surge on, we're going to get it on both coasts, more on the west and the east. It looks like right now. But the storm surge can depend on how the winds are coming. It can be before the storm and it can be after the storm, depending on where you are in the state. So everybody should be cautious. They should listen to the local law enforcement and listen to the local officials on when the evacuation orders are up. So everybody needs to be cautious. I want everybody to survive this storm. I want everybody to be safe. During the storm, as you know, we can't send out first responders to save you, so everybody needs to be cautious.
Governor, what shape is Naples and Fort Myers in right now? Obviously, all last night we were hearing that that was going to be a likely place that was going to get hit pretty hard. Where are we now?
Well, as you know, the storm is just south of the Naples area. I think it's about 80 miles south or so. It's going to have an unbelievable impact. 10 to 15 foot of storm surge above ground level. It looks like a little bit less, but something close to that. Fort Myers, we've added a lot of shelters. We've done everything we can to open shelters. We've worked to make sure people can get food. We spent hours trying to move people out of assisted living locations, making sure they have the support they need. We still need more nurses. to help our special needs patients. Right now, you can't get out in many parts of the state because of the weather. But after this passes, we're going to need more volunteers, and I hope more people will continue to volunteer, because this is going to be. I mean, we've got hopefully everybody survives the storm, and then we've got to make sure anybody that's in tough shape afterwards, we rescue them, and then we've got to start the process of restoring the state. I can tell you that. I'm proud of everybody here at the emergency management team. I'm proud of what the counties are trying to do. I'm thankful what the federal government's doing. I'm thankful the other states are offering resources. I know there's a lot of people are going to want to come in and help us, and I appreciate every one of them.
Disaster declaration request, does that have an immediate effect, or is that just going to be something that resolves itself in the days or weeks?
Sure.
The request that went into the president today will have three components: public assistance, which will assist governments at all different levels, state, local. It'll assist charitable organizations, the municipal and cooperative utilities. That's going to be more, some of it will have an immediate assist on the terms of debris removal and emergency action. Some of it's going to be the longer term rebuilding of infrastructure. There's also a mitigation component which will allow us to harden infrastructure against future storms. The one that will have the biggest impact immediately is the individual assistance component that's going to go to individual Floridians to help them recover for this storm. So that's going to be the one that would be the most impactful right away.
Storms passed, right?
Correct, yes. I mean, it's going to take a few days for the declaration to come through and to put into place and for people to register. So it will take a few days, but it will be very quick.
Brian or Governor, there was I know there was an 11:15 call that might have been the first chance to see what type of damage Monroe County, Miami-Dade, Broward, and even Collier is seeing. Any reports yet of the damage left after the storm passed by?
Well, when we were on the call, clearly Monroe needs a lot of support. You know, they're not able to get out yet and really assess exactly what they need, but they know there's water over US 1. I mean, if you think about what do we have to do down there, we got to make sure we get US 1 open. There's one road down there, right? We got to get make sure all those bridges, survive this, because one bridge, then everybody south of the bridge is stranded. We've got to find out what the airports are like. So the storm is still passing there. You know, the storm surge, we'll see how bad that is down there. But you can watch, what you see on TV is exactly what you're hearing from Miami. They've got a lot of wind, and they'll get the same storm surge as the storm moves north.
Up here in the Panhandle, obviously the storm's kind of taking people by surprise. I think even Tallahassee thought there was going to be a near miss a couple days ago. Now the city's in kind of the center of the cone. What preparations are being done as of right now, especially with gas? Because I know there's a bit of a shortage.
We have been working on getting gas into the state for this entire week. Unfortunately now our ports are closed, which were our primary ports for gas are Tampa and Port Everglades. We are the Corps here. We are working with them to make sure as soon as the storm passes, we can get those ports open to get fuel here. We will provide escorts again, law enforcement escorts to the carriers to get to the gas stations as much as possible. I waived the fuel tax to see if we can get more gas into the state. We've done everything we can to get as much fuel here as possible. I know there's been lines, there's been outages, but we're going to work every day to keep doing it. It'll be really important to get the ports back open, and I know it's something that the ports have already talked to the Army Corps to make sure they know a process to get that done as quickly as they can.
Governor, in the immediate aftermath, after the storm is cleared out, well, especially for South Florida right now, the people that went to shelters, how long could they expect to either sit in place and wait to hear that their neighborhood is okay to at least check out or go back into?
Well, clearly every county is going to be a little bit different what happened in their county. If you're in the inner counties, if you're in the middle of the state, it's probably going to be a little bit different because of mostly wind and some rain. You won't have the storm surge. So what'll happen in every county, they'll try to let people know what happened. I mean, but the issues that every family is going to deal with is, one, do you have power back? And if you don't have power, do you want to stay in a shelter? That's one. Two, we've got to make sure we have fuel for everybody. We've got to make sure we have water and food for everybody. So we've pre-positioned assets. FEMA's pre-positioned assets. We got to get those things as fast as we can to the southern part of the state. But all the assets for this it's slowed down the fact that this has covered the whole state. And so as you try to move the assets down to the southern part of the state, we got to let this storm pass. So it's safe to drive on our roads and things like that. So everybody's going to have to be very patient.
In Hardin County, Governor, a sheriff's deputy was killed in a storm-related collision. What type of guidance is being given to first responders? Should they be on the road right now at this point when the storm's coming ashore?
So, in every county, if you talk to the sheriff's department, every county, the police department, they have protocols for when people are supposed to be on the road. As you know, in the middle of the storm, you can't drive certain vehicles because of the wind, and whether it's the wind or the rain. But in every county, they make those decisions.
Governor, it's been almost a week, 5 days at least, since we've been waiting for this storm, and now it's here. I know you've been all over the state. What kind of a toll is it taking on you, and what have you learned about the state and the people?
Well, one thing when you go through this, what you'll learn is you have a really good state emergency management team. I mean, Brian Kuhn and his team, they do a really good job. If you go around the state and whether you're talking to the emergency management officials locally or you're talking to the law enforcement, they're absolutely committed. Also, you have to be impressed with your National Guard. I mean, these are individuals that are showing up. They're coming on active duty when they don't know what's going to happen to their own family. The other thing is, I want to thank President Trump. I mean, I've talked to him pretty much every day, and I've talked to the FEMA administrator almost, I think, every day. And you've got FEMA officials here. But that's true for every federal agency. People are working hard. There's a lot of unknowns, and that's what you worry about. I hope everybody survives, and I'm praying that they will. I do know that one thing you feel good about is people want to help. I've heard that all over. I've heard that all over the state, and I've had calls from outside the country, and all over this country. People want to come in and help, and I believe they will.
You had evacuated your family actually here to Tallahassee on Friday. The storm's coming to Tallahassee. What are your plans the next 36 hours as this storm moves up the coast?
Well, I'll make a decision based on how I can be helpful to the state. My daughter and her family are gonna go to D.C. So she just had 2 little babies, and so she's got 5 little boys, and so it's tough for them to be if we lose power here.
First Lady?
She doesn't decide what she's going to do yet.
Governor, how do you assess the evacuation efforts so far, the availability of shelters?
Oh, you really have to be impressed. I tell you, you have to be impressed with what the number of people that volunteered, the number of shelters got open. I mean, you really have to be impressed. There's a lot of work left to do. We've got to make sure they have the food and the water, because we had to open up shelters really fast. A lot of shelters got open in the last 2 days. If you can't tell exactly the numbers on how many people evacuated, but if you look at all the cameras this morning, there was nobody on the roads. I think everybody was pretty much hunkering down. If you look at, I think you have to. I think Florida Highway Patrol did a good job on how to, in FDOT keeping the evacuation routes open. We didn't have to. We used the shoulders. I think one of my big concerns was because we started having fuel problems immediately. And I think everybody, the oil companies, the ports, the carriers, the gas stations, they worked as well as they could to try to get as much fuel down here as possible. So I'm hopeful. I'm praying that people got out. You look at my community where I live. I mean, 10 to 15 feet of storm surge. I don't know how anybody survives that. So I don't know exactly how far inland it's going to go. But I know that the Collier County and Lee County, I was in both those places this week. They were very focused on it, and they were tracking it, and they were trying to get information out as fast as possible. But you worry about. I hope everybody. I just hope everybody listened.
How soon do you expect fuel will be making its way back to Florida? It's obviously been, the shipments have been cut off. When will they begin again, do you think?
So step one, we've got to get the ports open. The big fuel is the ports. All right, it's Tampa. I mean, there's others, but it's really Tampa and Port Everglades. Those are the 2. So the storm's got to pass. The Corps' got to get out there and make sure it's clear. But what we've been told is once that happens, there are tankers that want to come in. That's the big. That's the the lion's share of the fuel. But on top of that, we have fuel trucks that are coming down from north. That's why I waived for 5 days the fuel tax. So we're gonna have a run on fuel again, right? As people now want to go back home afterwards. So we're going to work hard to get it. Hopefully we won't have this issue where we're worried about a port being closed down again, which really slowed us down. But I think we're going to make good progress. People worked really hard to get more fuel here. I don't think I finished. Yeah, go ahead.
You know, the storm did switch track, and Northwest Florida is expecting stronger wind conditions, worse conditions. Are you confident that we're prepared up in this part of the state?
You know, the way you always look at it, I've been really impressed statewide with the emergency management team. All right, I've been very impressed with, you know, the response from everybody, whether it's FEMA or anybody else. In the end, there's always something, you know, that you could have done, because what happens is it changes. Something changes. The storm changes, moves path. It's more severe than you might have thought. But I can tell you, the people are going to be prepared. I've had calls every day with the utilities. I know everybody's going with their power back on. My understanding is there's 23. They already have 23,000 people coming down to the state to help with to restore power. Now some of those, because of the storm, have been able to get pre-positioned, and some of them have not. So if it was a east or west storm, that would make it easier. But I know people are going to work hard. We're going to get we'll open up the shelters. But I mean, it is hard when it impacts your entire state.
Anybody else?
Governor, can you speak to the type of preparations that are taking place at the mansion?
Well, I haven't really hardly been there, so you'd have to ask somebody else. So I wouldn't know. I get there really late at night and sleep and leave.
You plan to be here at the EOC throughout the storm? Is that correct?
I'm gonna be here. I'll figure out my schedule at the end of the day, but I'm gonna be here throughout the day today, and then I'll figure it out late today. Thanks, everybody.